It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of You Can't Take It With You. This is Our Youth, Can and Barb Jungr. Spelled Jungr. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. It is spelled Jungr.
You almost got it, Charlie.
I came close. Younger, like the Jungfrau Yo.
Like the Jungfrau,
something like
it's
that.
Younger.
How are you, Leslie?
I'm Leslie tonight, yes, and that part of Leslie will be played by Leslie, and the part of Charlie will be played by Charlie.
Yes,
Good evening, everyone.
yes. And the part of Carrie Fisher will be played by Meryl Streep.
Absolutely, we got it.
Okay.
So we're
All right.
we're getting in the mood for the show that you're going to talk
Well,
about.
yes, this is the ultimate go with the flow show.
Absolutely.
This is You Can't Take It With You by Morse Hart and George F. Kaufman, better known as Kaufman and Hart.
Absolutely.
And of course, we talked about the autobiographical Hart play a few years ago.
We did, Act
This is
One.
not the show they wrote in Act One. This is latter, and it's one of their most famous and probably one of their most
One of
produced.
their best. One of their most produced and one of
I
their
guess.
Well, depending on the production, but you
Well, I will tell you, I've always had misgivings about this play.
Oh.
Because, well, this is the ultimate go with the flow play. Yeah, it's about
is.
this family. It takes place in 1936. The grandfather was a Wall Street tycoon until he decided he didn't want to be. But fortunately, he can live off of his investments. So he does, with his daughter and his grandchildren and their in-laws. And it
neighbors
seems
and
that anybody
somebody
who
who
just
walks
happens to
in.
show
Right,
and walk in
exactly.
off the street, and they sit around all day doing anything they like.
Isn't that
Like
lovely?
at first I thought, oh, this is kind of strange.
Yeah.
But, his daughter sits around writing plays when she's not painting. And her daughter, who is married, wants to be a ballerina. And the ballerina's husband makes fireworks and puts communist messages in them, not because he has any communist sympathies, but simply because it works well with the printer that he has, and he likes to play
time
with
when the play was written, he had communist sympathies, but it's been watered down over the years. But if you go back to the original play, the lines as written were definitely. They couldn't play it that way because they would have been brought up in front of a committee somewhere. Or
Well,
another.
that kind of happens. Anyway, there is one sane daughter, sort of, in the family, and her.
It's like the Munsters, where you have
Oh,
everybody.
okay. Well, that's a very good.
And then you have the one girl who's supposedly normal.
Right. Well,
But
that's.
she's not necessarily
Well,
normal.
her name is Alice, and in actuality, if you see the way she acts in this production, she is definitely a member of the family. The way she interacts with her future, she's bringing her fiance home. The way she acts with her future in-laws, the way she interacts with her family, you can see that the family, that she is a member and she loves her family, and there is an influence on her, even if
perhaps,
she is trying to kind of break free.
Harder, Mother. But try one. I want to know what you think.
Oh, they look lovely. What do you call them?
I think I'll call them Love Dreams.
Oh, yes, that's nice. I'm going back to the war play, Essie. What do you think?
Oh, are you, Mother?
Oh, yes, I sort of got myself into a monastery, and I can't get out.
According to our records, Mr. Vanderhoff, you have never paid an income tax.
That's right.
Why not?
I don't believe in it.
Well, you own property, don't you?
Yes, sir.
And you receive a yearly income from
I
it
do.
of between $3,000 and $4,000.
About that.
You've been receiving it for years.
I have 1901, if you want the exact date.
Well, the government is only interested in 1914 on. That's when the income tax started.
Well,
Well, it seems, Mr. Vanderhoff, that you owe the government 24 years back income tax.
Wait a minute. You can't go back that far. That's outlawed.
Huh. What's your name?
What difference does that make?
Have you ever filed an income tax return?
No, sir.
Ah, and what was your income last year?
$28.50, wasn't it, Essie?
Yes, sir. Don't read him any plays, Mother. And don't let a snake bite him, Grandpa, because I like him. And I wouldn't dance for him, Essie, because we're going to the Monte Carlo Ballet tonight.
can't do anything. Who is he? President of the United States?
No, he's Vice President of Kirby & Co., Mr. Anthony Kirby Jr.
Well,
The boss's son?
The boss's son. It's just like the movies.
Your Highness, may I present Mr. Anthony Kirby and Mr. Kirby Jr., the Grand Duchess Olga Katrina.
How's that?
Yes, how do you do? Before I make princess, how many will there be to dinner?
Oh, I'd make quite a stack of them, Your Highness. Can't ever tell.
Good! The Tsar always used to say to me, Olga, do not be stingy with the princes.
As I said, I've always had mixed feelings about the play, but I will say you will not find a better production than
I
this.
never saw it on stage. I only saw the movie,
Well,
which was terrific.
Jimmy
Lionel,
Stewart.
Lionel Barrymore,
Yes.
and just a great
Right.
cast. So it was kind of so much of its own period in a black and white film. To see it live and in color, and literally in color, because James Earl Jones plays the grandfather, but you don't, in this family, in fact, there's a maid and her boyfriend, and you don't really know what their relationship is, because everybody's so friendly and familial that they're not treated like servants. Everybody does everything. So,
well, again, this is a go with the flow family. So that's, you know, you want to make fireworks in the basement, go for it.
Right.
You want you to have your friend come and live with us.
And
You know.
the wonderful thing is they actually do the fireworks on stage, which is phenomenal. Now I didn't know everyone in the cast, but going in, of course, I knew Julie Halston, who is a scene stealer no matter what she does.
Yes.
And she stole scenes. She had a very short, small scene. And the other person I did know was Elizabeth Ashley, who comes in at the very end.
She's wonderful.
She's wonderful.
As is James Earl Jones. You could just see he's having such a wonderful time. He's relaxed.
You know, he doesn't walk very well anymore, as I don't, so I understand this. He comes on stage and he sits. But he sits and he's the head of he's paterfamilias, and he sits and everyone comes to him. And so you never get a sense that he can't move, because he takes up the stage when he sits, you know? He's so marvelous as an actor. So it's a lovely production. Lovely production.
It really is. I think it's Annalee Ashford as the ballerina daughter, who literally, she's dancing her way through the whole part. It really is. You have Mark-Lynn Baker as her husband.
Yes, we haven't seen enough of Mark-Lynn Baker over the years.
Yes.
No, he's not her husband. He's the crazy guy in the basement who does the
Who is her
fireworks. Her husband is a very skinny young
Her
man.
husband? No.
His name is Franz.
Oh wait,
Kranz.
I'm sorry. Mark-Lynn Baker
His name Franz Kranz.
is her father. I'm sorry. Yeah, Mark-Lynn Baker is married to Penelope, who is the daughter of James Earl Jones.
You're right.
Mark-Lynn Baker.
Right.
I'm sorry.
But he's
it's
not
a large cast. It's hard to get. And yes, we
it
haven't.
is an enormous cast.
But either way, we haven't seen enough of Mark-Lynn Baker recently.
But whom we do know is Kristen Nelson, who plays the
daughter
of James Earl Jones, of course, is the wonderful lady who finally won her Tony for Masha, Sasha, Sonia, and whatever. And Spike. And so she comes in and sort of does her Kristen Nelson thing, which is what we expect, as Julie Halston does hers. Right. The actors are allowed to do certain kinds of things because Scott Ellis, the director, is smart enough to know who he casts.
Right. And he's got the staging so fluidly, so beautifully.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. And of course, it's a David Rockwell set. Now, we are fortunate on Broadway this year. My God, the sets that we have. Right. We have Scott. David Rockwell has done this one, and we're not going to be able to talk about Country House because, unfortunately, you didn't get to see it. But that was a set by our favorite. Oh golly, he won the Tony last year as another. Never mind, let it go. Anyway, they're just gorgeous sets of houses this year that you can't believe, apartments and whatnot. Just amazing.
It is beautiful. It's, you know, again, you will wonderful, wonderful production. You will not find a better production. I love the performances. I love the directing. I've never been an overly big fan of the play. I like it a little more than I used to. You know, I think when I first saw it and I was little, I said, well, wait, this family's getting away without paying taxes? Boy.
Well, it's 1933, and that is you didn't mention that was a part of the. You know, that's one of the.
Part.
But it's every kind of strange 1933 trope of comedy that you could find.
This could in a way be reset in the 60s, and they could be a bunch of hippies.
Yes, they could, and it could be reset now in the sense that nobody has a job anymore. So you could look at, a lot of young people have no jobs. A lot of millennials have no jobs because they come out of college and there are no jobs for them.
But
so
it's a little different between not being able to find a job and choosing not to work and not having to find a job. So that really...
Well, Okay, but a lot of people go home and live with their parents, is what I was trying to say. And in that respect, it didn't look that odd, you know, that there were people living at home.
All right,
It might have looked odder, more odd at a different time.
No, maybe, but it looks pretty odd because when you have, you know, a married couple still living with her father.
Believe me, I can name 5 people I know where that's happening. So it's not that. In any case, how many playbills would you give a play like
3
this?
and a half.
Well, it was meant to be odd. It was made to
And
be
they
odd.
accomplish it.
But is this one of the best revivals at the Roundabout in the last umpteen years? And they've got another best revival coming up in the musical world, which we'll talk about on another show. So this is the Roundabout's year, as far as I'm concerned. I would give it 4. It's one of those evenings in the theater that I long to have, where I sit back and I go, oh my God, yes, and it suffuses me, and I just give myself up to it. So, hallelujah.
By all means.
Hallelujah.
If you like the play, absolutely see this.
Absolutely. And if you don't know the play, give it a chance.
This is the best way. This is the best way.
Absolutely. And what I love is that everybody is not well known, and they still do well. So now we're going to go from.
That should hardly be a surprise to you. I've seen many unknown casts that have done well.
Okay, but they hold their own against people like James Earl Jones, you know, or the Elizabeth Ashley, who comes in and steals the scene, kind of thing. So the next play that we have is the Steppenwolf Chicago Theater's production of This Is Our Youth, and that's only a cast of 3. And it's another kind of apartment. It's an apartment on the Upper West Side, set in the 80s. Again, it's a revival. Everything we're talking about tonight is a revival. And a lot of what we're going to talk about all season are going to be revivals.
And nothing wrong with that as long as they're good revivals.
As long as they're good. And this is the best revival of this. This third time I've seen this play. It's like I'm talking about Shakespeare. It's not a Shakespearean play. It's by Kenny Lonergan. And it's directed by Anna Shapiro, who now runs the Steppenwolf in Chicago, but has won awards here for things like August Osage County. Very well-known director, well-respected female director. Yay, yay, yay. And it's a cast of 3, and this is a superb cast. I wouldn't necessarily have expected it. Michael Cera, from a lot of teenage movies, well, not teenage, but young 20s kind of movies. I was never particularly fond of him in the movies. Lovely job of playing a kind of really lost young man running away from his father. And he comes to
taking a whole lot of money with him while he does.
Well, he steals the money from his father. Planning to put it back. I'm not quite sure how that happens, where he's planning to put it back. But this is Michael Cera sitting over here. And he comes to the apartment over here of Kieran Culkin, and who's living, as I say, on the Upper West Side. And he has no place the kid with the money has no place to go, and he doesn't know what to do with himself. And he's looking for some pot to smoke. And he's a child. He's not grown up. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know what he wants. And
as it turns out, he does, but we'll get to that in a
Well,
minute.
yes, he wants 2 things. He wants a particular girl.
Yes.
He wants to get, may I say the word on our show, or should it? He wants a girl and all that goes with it. How's that? Is that a nice way
yes,
around it?
that's a
Okay,
nice way.
I saw that look on your face, and I knew I couldn't
Friendship
go
with
any further.
benefits. How's that?
And then there's the girl.
Yes.
And the girl is played by a young woman whom your daughters might know. Her name is Tabby Gevinson.
Yes.
Tabby Gevinson is a product of our time in a way like no other. She started out at 12 writing a blog, a fashion blog. At 12. By 14, she was sitting in the front row at fashion shows all over the world. She's now 18 and she's starring on Broadway. And in this particular play, she is perfect because she seems to be older, she seems to be wiser, but she knows no more than the boys do. The wisest one of all is the wisecracker. I get it wrong when I'm looking at the camera. The wisecracker is the Kieran Culkin character.
Well, you know what? He's not so wise.
Well, that's the point.
He simply thinks he is, and he proves that. He proves what a blowhard, phony, and frankly jerk he is in the second act. I won't spoil it.
But he's a drug dealer, and he makes money at it.
Yes,
and so
he's a
that
drug
gives
dealer
him
who pretends he's a bike messenger and is actually living in an apartment subsidized by his parents.
Well, exactly. But my point is now what I wanted to say was all of them, even though he's almost 30, all of them are half-finished children.
Yes.
And it's in the 80s. I mean, we have a lot of that going on
right.
now.
And, you know, that's what disappointed me about the play. This was my first time,
Ah.
and I love the Stephen Wolf. I've seen their productions, and I've been very impressed. I've been very awed by them. And I'm hearing, oh, this is incredible. It's wonderful, and I was disappointed on several accounts. Number one, because 1982 was my coming of age period.
Oh, wow.
So I was looking for
Oh,
something.
God, I feel old. Okay.
I'm looking for something I can identify with, and there was absolutely nothing.
It was on the Upper West Side when you were living in New Jersey, right?
True.
I know you live there now.
But I spent time on the Upper West Side.
Well,
certainly, I was covering.
And they are Jewish kids.
I was covering
That's
the theater
an important
then.
fact.
But no reference to no cultural reference. They weren't even. Doesn't even look like they were dressing for the 80s. I mean, wasn't she wearing Uggs? Or something.
Yeah, Uggs started around then.
Not really. My daughters would disagree with you.
Well, okay.
I admit knowing nothing about fashion, but I've got daughters.
Knowing this gal's background, I would say that every piece of clothing that she was wearing would have been done with a fairly well to be the right period.
It certainly didn't invoke the 80s. In the 80s,
you know what?
Me.
The 80s are now. There's no difference. The difference is you're thinking of the women who wore the big shoulders and whatnot. But these kids are kids, and they dress like kids.
I was looking for something that evoked the period. I was hoping to find something like that.
Like what?
I don't know.
Women wore big shoulders. Girls did not. She's a girl.
Yeah. Again, I'm not. Again, nothing about the boys. Nothing about the apartment. All right, yes, they had a old-fashioned TV, etc. But nothing there. Nothing invoking. At least to me, I was not overly impressed with the story. The characters wore thin after a while, quite frankly. I know I'm in the minority of this.
I just want to tell you whom I've seen do this before, and that is I saw Matt Damon, and but you know my phone died. I had all my notes on my phone, and my phone died. So I saw Matt Damon and 2 other people do this in London, and then I saw the new group do it here in New York with Josh Hamilton and Mark Ruffalo, and this is the best.
And this is the best
one that I've
which
seen.
Tells me, at least as far as I'm concerned, that this is not a very impressive play. I don't know what the attraction is. I could only mildly empathize with them. You know, their plight was, I mean, especially, you know, everything in the second act, everything falls apart.
Well, that's how it's written.
I understand of course that's how it's written. But I found myself not overly caring. I said, oh, just go home or what, you know.
Well, the thing is, it's very hard to empathize with these kids because they don't have anything. They don't want anything. They don't know who they are. Kid steals a couple of $1,000s and doesn't know what to do with it. And what he finally does do with it, and what he finds out what he wants to do with it. But what he finally does do with it is such a waste. You know, I mean, he could have gone to Atlantic City and had a weekend. You know, if he had
I think he had a very nice time with it.
I know, but I'm saying it could have been so much bigger.
And there's also a thing about a collection he has that he ends up having to sell, and that to me that was the most painful part of the play.
Well, the collection is his comic book characters. You know, the little figurines, that kind of thing.
And that to me, that when he actually had to go through with it and how it turned and how the sale turned out, to me that was the saddest part of the play.
Well, so what would you give it then? You didn't really.
I really didn't. I might, appreciating the craft, give it 3. Somewhere maybe 2.75.
That's a lot for you not liking something.
Yeah, maybe. 2.5.
I understand you're not identifying, though, because, I mean, I understand because you were such a different kind of... I know what, you know, your upbringing must have been so terribly different from this kind of upbringing that, you know, and they were spoiled rotten. We didn't even say that. Okay, so I know the play. I would have normally sort of thought that it would devolve, and I wouldn't... Since I liked it the best, I'd give it a 3.75.
Really? Okay.
I really would, yes. I don't know what a Japanese visitor might make out of it, you know, going to see.
A Japanese visitor would be going to On the Town.
Well, I hope so. We'll talk about that in our next show. We'll find out.
Or something like that.
So now you have something special for us tonight.
I do. Now, occasionally...
Why don't you hold this part up, because it's so big and we can see it.
This part has all the names and everything.
Okay. Well, occasionally
I'll hold this up.
Okay,
you hold.
Yeah, how would that?
Get a shot of Leslie.
See, we're a team.
Yes.
And so you can tell what
all
it's going to be.
Occasionally, I will hop in the car, or most likely hop on a train, and I will go to New Jersey, which is my camera. And I will head out to Millburn, New Jersey, which is the home of the Paper Mill Playhouse. This is a wonderful, wonderful theater. It is where Newsies got its start. It is where
They did a much better Little Mermaid, according to
much
you.
better Little
Yeah.
Mermaid that they did on Broadway, which I suspect may have also been a test for Broadway. What is it? Leaving Las Vegas?
Oh yes, it's bringing
Honeymoon
they're bringing
in
it
Vegas
Honeymoon-
had its tryout there. It's coming to Broadway.
Right.
So this is one of the premier.
Regional.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You just had
That's
to tell
the
me.
word.
I got a word.
Anyway, so this is Can Can. It has music by Cole Porter. It was originally written by Abe Burrows, who is probably better known for writing the Book of Guys and Dolls. It was the musical that put Gwen Verdon on the map.
Indeed.
And Google Gwen Verdon, anyone under 40.
Oh, please.
You know. But it has never really been a popular show since its opening. There was a revival on Broadway about 20 years ago. It did not do well.
I saw it at Encores with Patti LuPone.
Okay. And there was a movie with that was not really faithful to the script. They added a new character so that Frank Sinatra could come in.
Absolutely.
Now this is directed by David Lee, and it has been rewritten by Joe Fields and David Lee, and they did an excellent job. This takes place back in Paris in the late 1800s in a Paris nightclub, and I have a suspicion that the MC from Cabaret used to sneak in there when he was a little boy, because there is certainly some resemblances, although obviously the tone of Can Can is gay mid 20th century gay and carefree. It's a musical comedy.
Oh wait, I can look at this and tell.
It is basically about a woman who runs a risque nightclub where they do the Can Can. Now it's not just that they're doing the Can Can with the kicks. They have wardrobe malfunctions if you're there on the right night, and a judge who is determined to shut it down. But
that's what they really did with the Can Can back in the day.
Oh,
you
yes.
know?
Those
wardrobe malfunctions
that is
purpose
authentic.
Of it,
they
right.
kind of left that part out of the movie,
Yes,
but they brought that back in. And it is run by Pastiche. Pistachio Nuts.
Yes. All right.
Beautifully played by Clay Baldwin, who doesn't really dance, but she sings up a storm.
It's
kind of a
pistache.
It's kind of a. Isn't that what I said?
You did.
Okay,
I was
thank
agreeing.
you. And she's kind of a Mae West-like hard-boiled character, and she and the judge,
who is nicely played by Jason Donnelly, have a romantic past together that is rekindled when he is transferred to her district. Needless to say, his wanting to close her club is a hindrance to their relationship. The villain of the story is the judge's romantic rival, a powerful drama critic played by Michael Barris, who walks the walk very nicely, especially in a fencing match with the judge over Pistache, but can't always talk the talk. The cast also includes Greg Hildreth in the comical role of a struggling artist, and Megan Sillara, who gamely and energetically takes over the Gwen Verdon role.
But all in all, you get some beautiful canning. You have
I never heard it used as a verb before. I love that.
G-rated.
Can-canning.
But and you can see there is so much more to the can than the ShopRite commercials. And you have the score. It's Cole Porter.
Well, name some of the music.
All right.
That's where you're going to
I Love Paris.
I Love Paris.
It's All Right With Me. The title song. C'est Magnifique.
C'est Magnifique.
Yeah.
I'll do the French for you. C'est Magnifique.
Come along with me. I mean, it's
I don't know that one.
Okay. Well, it's wonderful.
Okay. Is that in there
and this
too?
is the original. Well, there's more, but this is the original score. They don't. They haven't amplified it in any of his other, and they don't need to. And given that this is a tryout, I think it works.
So you think it might move? I mean, it's due for a revival.
It is due, and I think it could work on Broadway.
Okay.
Maybe it needs to be a little tightened up, but I've rarely seen a tryout. I've seen a couple of tryout shows there. This one, they're 90% or better there, as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure there are a couple of improvements.
Well, send them our link showing how much you loved it, and see what we can get.
I think this should come to Broadway.
Well, I'm gonna
I hope
give you
it
back
does.
all your
I will
notes.
give it 4 playbills.
And I will just smile nicely because I didn't see it. So
right.
I'm going to now talk about something you didn't see. But
Leslie's a snob. She won't come out to
oh,
New Jersey.
it's not that. It's hard for me to
I
travel. Oh,
know.
don't do that. I used to go out there all the time.
Okay.
I don't go
Leslie
anymore
Leslie
because
would rather be on the Upper West Side in 1982 or something.
trouble. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right. So, but I don't have trouble getting to 59 East 59th Street. And to come and see that. She looks so much like Helen Mirren to me in this picture, but this lady's name is Barb Jungr. In the spring, she had a show that celebrated her 60th birthday at 59 East 59th Street. So she's a youngster.
So she was celebrating 60 at 59.
Younger, yeah, but having the Jungr, and this is her show that has her sing the two things that she does best, and that is the songs of Bob Dylan and the songs of Leonard Cohen. They are not songs you would expect a woman to sing. They are hard songs, and she calls the show Hard Rain in honor of the Bob Dylan song. Now, there's another picture of in here. I just wanted to get to show the other picture of her, because she does the two sides of Barb Jungr, as it were. She's a marvelous British performer. She has fans. Our friend Peter Ledun, who came on our show, was there the night I was there. He adores her. He's been to see every one of her shows, as I have, and the ones that she does here. And the songs are every song that you've ever known. I have to turn it around this way now. I don't have my song list in here. How about that? Here, I do. It starts with I'm Only Bleeding. It goes on to Who by Fire. It goes on to Things Have Changed. First We Take Manhattan, which is a Leonard Cohen song that made me fall madly in love with Leonard Cohen. I'm an overaged Leonard. Well, I'm not overaged for Leonard. He just turned 80, so I'm okay. I'm one of his younger fans, I guess. But Blowin' in the Wind, Masters of War, 100,000 Kisses Deep. It ends with Hard Rain, and there's an encore. What it doesn't have is Hallelujah, which is the Leonard Cohen song, but everybody in the world has sung Hallelujah, and I would love to have heard her do it in this show. Her rendition, she takes what are traditionally these male, hard guitar kinds of songs, and she makes them shimmer with just percussion and a piano, and she changes the tempo. She sings them and she makes them her own.
Look what Peter, Paul, and Mary did with Blowing in the Wind.
But this is the point. That's Peter,
Paul, and Mary?
Peter, Paul, and Mary. Sorry, it took me a second. I thought you were saying Peter, Paul, and Mary. Anyway, she's here until the 16th of November. I don't know when the show is going to show. The tickets are $35 if you want to go see a fabulous 90-minute one-woman show. And the best music around, man. Go and see this woman perform. I can't, tout it too highly. I would give it 4.5 playbills. If you don't know the music of Leonard Cohen and Bob Dylan, you'd have to go back and listen to it, because it's their music, and then it's what she does to it. The best thing I wanted to say was she takes music that's been written in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and she says, but it could be now, and she's right. Think about what the songs are about, the end of war, the terrible economic times. Bam. The songs happen, and they haven't.
I think this is certainly why Bob Dylan
What a sad thing it says about our lives, though. The world, it doesn't change. Things are always going to be bad. God,
There will always be problems.
Thank you.
Each generation will solve problems.
Or not.
And each generation will create problems.
Yeah. Well, there
Hopefully they will solve more problems than they will create.
And when they do, where will we be?
We will be on the aisle.
The two of us on the aisle.